talk about Planet X. Maybe you got some new information that we could talk about. But I'm curious, what was it? You were working for CNN. Now, did you start getting into that stuff while you were working there?
No, that was back in the 80s when it was really a news. Now, I agree with Larry King. It's the Cartoon News Network.
Yeah.
It's a joke compared to what it was when I was there. When I was there, it was a lean, mean news machine, and it was an amazing time to be involved with that organization. But that was before there was all the consolidation, where just a handful of corporations own all the media. They've turned it all into this Orwellian propaganda machines, and so that was a time. It was really cool. I remember.
So it was really a time when they actually reported news then, and they actually went after stories.
Yeah, if you remember CNN in the old days, I mean, Turner was running it when I was there. It was something else. I would go in and meet with producers out on the newsroom floor. As you remember, they used to see all the reporters sitting at their desks because they were actually doing investigative reporting. Who'd have thought that? And man, to be honest with you, I didn't enjoy those visits because, I mean, the tension in that room, you could cut it with a knife. I used to walk out of there with chest pains. Jeez.
Yeah,
that was tough. There was so much competition. Now they just read what's given to them.
Yep.
But, different days altogether. And, I moved to Texas and then got into the computer industry. And when you're in television, eventually you either get rich or you grow up and go somewhere else.
Yeah. That's a good point.
So, and it got me here, but it was natural curiosity of things. I had a travel business going to Russia, and that was really what started me down the path, because in the 90s I was going from taking the polar route on Aeroflot from San Francisco to Moscow. And it might surprise people, but the Russians make more comfortable passenger jets than we do. And on the way back, it was always during the day. And first time, it was 2003, January, and I saw the Arctic and grew up in Arizona, and I mean, this was the first time I'd seen blue ice. When I saw it the first time, it was just beautiful, vast expanses of snow and rock outcroppings, blue ice. I was mesmerized for hours, and especially by the blue ice, because that's old ice, and the only time I ever saw blue ice when I was a kid in Phoenix was you went to 7-Eleven, put some in a cone, and they'd pour some blue syrup on it, and that was all I knew about blue ice. And I watched it steadily over the years. I quit my travel business in '98, and my last trip over the Arctic was in '98, and what I saw was a steady deterioration over the years. Always was flying over in December, back in January, because that's how I ran my business. And, I came on that last trip, and it just looked like the whole Arctic looked like the busted windshield of a wrecked car in the junkyard. And I said, man, they can call me a tree hugger. I got to figure this out. And that's what really started me on the path of trying to understand global warming, what we call weather change, and that was something where we were looking to see if the man-made causes were the principal engine of it. We didn't see enough evidence of that. I mean, we put out a lot of carbon, but to be blunt, a couple of good volcano farts will do as much. And, we started looking at the sun, and solar radiance was increasing, has been since 1940. And then we were wondering, okay, well, if this is a solar-driven thing, that would be consistent that the atmospheres of the other bodies in our system would be perturbed like ours. Well, that's exactly what we found. All right. So every planet with an atmosphere is showing atmospheric perturbations, weirdness. Matter of fact, Mars had a period of warming so intense that if something like that were to happen here on Earth, we would become extinct as a species.
Right.
So this is pretty serious, and that then led us, I was doing this work with a couple other folks who are like myself, Mensons, and Mens is a society for people who have genius IQs and are socially challenged. And we were really looking at, all right, it's solar radiance. Is this something that is a normal solar cycle, or is there something else? And sunspot activity, these kind of records go back 300 years. We weren't seeing anything in that period of time that was consistent with it. No ancient folklore or historical reports. So at that point, we started looking at the possibility of the sun interacting with another body in our system that we're not aware of, an interloper, if you will. And that was our path to Planet X, which is actually a mini constellation. It's we are in a binary system. Now, for those that can remember back to the 70s and the 80s, there was actually a whole lot of very intelligent conversation about it by professional astronomers and by the media. However, there was a mysterious death of a U.S. naval astronomer, Robert Harrington. He was the chief astronomer there in Washington at the observatory. And this was after he kind of, I guess, did 3 strikes and you're out. First was he wrote a brilliant paper on Planet X. Second was he had a special telescope constructed and sent to a United States observatory in New Zealand, which all of the image plates that were, all of that was captured, was sent to NASA and never seen again. And he gave an interview to Zecharia Sitchin, author of The 12th Planet, and actually showed during the interview Planet X in the orbit of Planet X, and he's pointing it out. Then, not long after that, he dies of a mysterious quick-onset cancer that has been known to be used in targeted assassinations. Yep. And after his death, the topic hit the wall. I mean, it's just like, we trended all the data, the amount of reporting by the, major publications, the Trib, New York Times, Post, you name it. And then right after Harrington's death, boom, like that, all went dark. And pretty much stayed that way. So, and we actually document that on our site. And in my video, Planet X 101, Who, What, Why, Where, When, and How, if you watch that, you just go to my website, yowusa.com, click on the video link, and I have a 100-minute course. You can watch that. In 100 minutes, you'd get the equivalent of what would normally take most people 2 to 3 years of study to figure out. And in there, you get to 1988, because I present the whole chronology of it going back a few hundred years. And there is an astronomer for NASA, his name is Anderson, still on the payroll, who said, yes, we're in a binary system, and yes, there is a Planet X. So, of course, once I brought that out public, The Google database where we found the news accounts was expunged, and I was thoroughly smashed for that and harassed. But that's just, that's the way life is in this genre. It's coming, and it's going to be here. But the truth is, people cling to the bliss of their ignorance like jealous lovers. And,
oh yeah,
it's like ufology. We've published videos with images, tracking, it doesn't matter. It's like ufology. You can have piles and piles and piles and piles and piles and piles and piles of photographs, testimony, and people go, well, I don't know about that.
Oh, of course.
All right. So that's it. But I find that the people really who do get it and want to get through it are people who have been in awareness since they were children. Interestingly enough, that's a recurring pattern.
Sure.
And as for the rest, the ones that are going, oh, they're all crazy as peach orchard boars. Okay. Well, let's be honest. It's a global tribulation that's coming, and somebody's got to do the die-in. So it's better that the ones who are mocking those who are in awareness stand up and fall left and right. Good for them.
Heck yeah.
There you go, Michael.
Oh boy.
Yeah. We were talking about this yesterday.
But I'll tell you, the one place and I tell my folks that there's going to come a time, an event I call the rage. And that is when all these people who have been laughing at everyone else are going, oh, my God, we're going to die because we've been lied to. They're going to get mad. They're going to hit the streets. They're going to want to riot. They're going to, what you got to do is when they do that, they go one way, you go the opposite direction.
Yeah. Better
yet, you just don't want to be anywhere around all of that in the first place. And because we got a government that has acquired 1.6 billion rounds of hollow point ammunition, and they're going to use it. It'll make Kent State look like, a finger bowl compared to the entree they're going to serve up. Won't be tear gas, it won't be water cannons. It'll be 2 warnings, and then they'll open up with machine guns, and there'll be a whole lot of dead bodies laying around, and then people will get the message, shut up, you face. And it worked at Kent State, for those that can remember, the riots and the protests over Vietnam.
I don't remember, but I know the story well.
Yeah, Kent State brought all that to a screeching halt. That was it. Boom. All the protests stopped.
Yep.
Because now they were using real bullets.
It'll
be the same thing all over again. It'll just be Kent State, but the body count will be pretty steep.
And you never hear about that. You never hear about Kent State.
No, you never do. Never do. It's kind of like,
Bad.
it's kind of like bastard children. You keep them out of the will.
Kind of like everything else the government's done. You just keep it out of sight, out of mind.
Well, but the interesting thing is when we do see it, everyone's going to turn to the government, and government's going to say, well, we didn't say anything because, frankly, it's just going to pass by without making any big trouble, and we didn't want to start something people get all upset and bent out of shape for nothing and so forth. So don't worry about it. And what'll happen? People will go, oh, okay.
Okay, sure. Well, that's what happens. 40, 50, 60 years will go by, and something will get declassified and, proven to be true. And, you have your, quote, conspiracy theorists that are like, hey, see, told you so. And the rest of the population says, who cares? No big deal. For our protection, for our safety, etc.
Well, yeah. I mean, being a conspiracy theorist is like perpetual life of being an unrequited lover. You know, you never quite get the satisfaction.
That's a funny comparison. Yeah.
It's true though.
Yeah, it's yeah. The signs are there. Things are, it's going in that direction. Bob Fletcher is. I had him on my podcast, and I published an interview on him earlier this year, and he's pretty spot on. He's pretty spot on. Yeah, the difference is that he comes at this from a government conspiracy angle and follows the money, which is pretty smart.
Yep.
I follow the science, so I'm a more science oriented because I'm a retired computer systems analyst, and just goes to my nature.
That's why I thought it would be good to have him on and then have you on, because you guys. You both, got the same thing, but like you just said, like you're science, he's money. So I figured get you guys both on the show, give kind of different perspectives, I guess, if you want to call it different perspectives. But yeah.
Well, I think his prediction that he made that martial law will precede the appearance of Planet X by 6 months. It's pretty good. Seems like that's where it's definitely headed. We got Jade Helm.
I was just going to say that. Yeah. You think there's a something between Jade Helm and Planet X, or?
Nah, what do you think?
So my aunt thinks it's going to happen in March next year.
Huh?
Actually, my aunt thinks it's going to come in March next year. Next March.
Yeah, could be.
Have you heard anything of when it might happen?
Yeah, what's your
in my book, Being in It for the Species, I have a tribulation timeline, and we'll know we're on the tribulation timeline when an event called the Winter of Ash happens, and that's when we have a whole slew of volcanic eruptions on the western side of the Rim of Fire. Now, that's not going to create death toll, but it is going to have dramatic economic and political ramifications. It will affect Americans because these people over there are going to have their farms are going to be covered in ash, so they're going to have to get food elsewhere, which means all of this cheap food that's coming up into the United States from other places is going to go to the highest bidder. And that means it's going to head towards the other side of the Pacific, and what we're going to see in the grocery store will be higher prices and some skimpy shelves. And that's when people are going to get a sense of, are we in deep kimchi? And of course, there will be the gratuitous, don't worry, which reminds me of that great line from the movie 2012, when they tell you that not to worry, that's when you run, but that's what's going to happen. I'll basically tell you guys, wherever you plan to plant your tuchus, okay, get it done this year, all right? Because next year, forget about it. If you ain't there, you ain't there, and you ain't going to get there.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Going back to the Jade Helm in this situation, obviously you laughed pretty extensively. It goes hand in hand. Then
Jade Helm. They ought to call it Operation Walmart.
Oh yes. I wanted to. Yeah. Operation Walmart.
Yeah. The blue light military or something. It's really funny. I think it's hysterical to watch these comedians in New York tell the folks in Texas, you're paranoid. Well, gee, their state has been designated a hostile state, whereas where the comedians who are mocking them, they're not being declared anything. It's really easy to laugh at somebody when you're, not the one looking down the gun barrel. And Jade Helm is the way they're setting these things up. They're basically using the Walmarts as forward operating bases, FOBs.
So what do you think about the Zetatalk website?
The what site?
Zetatalk.com. They've been following this Planet X thing for, 15 years now?
I haven't even heard of that.
I haven't even heard of that.
Yeah,
Nancy Leader, I think her name is, Leider.
Oh, you mean Zetatalk?
Zetatalk, sorry,
yeah. Zetatalk. Well, Nancy and I always seemed to have a good working relationship, and when other people were criticizing her, I never got involved. But now she is name-calling. She's accusing, like she accused me of working for the government.
Oh, wow.
And I'm going, well, if that's so, where in the hell's my damn dental benefits? And, Nancy is, to hell with it. I think she's just as crazy as a peach orchard whore. Let's leave it at that.
I think, yeah, absolutely. She's really, she's a good guy, and he's there to help us through the thing.
Hey, Jeff, you're breaking up.
Yeah.
All right. Can you hear me right now?
Yes, now we can hear you.
No, she thinks that Obama is a good guy and that he's going to help us through the passage.
Oh, well, she must be crazy.
Yeah.
Either that, or she belongs to a really good cannabis co-op.
Yeah. I want to get into that. Yeah. Get whatever she's smoking.
I mean, I just. I remember 2003, Nancy created one hell of a panic and scared a hell of a lot of people. Okay? Yep. And she came on my show, and she said that it was the only time the Zetas ever lied to her, and they did it because they wanted to trick George Bush into invading Iraq.
Okay. Okay.
Wow.
Of course, now you understand that story has changed and evolved about 1,700 times since then. And but there are a lot of people that follow her work that actually do some good, interesting stuff. But I just I don't know what her problem is. I mean, I'm busy enough with my own work. I don't have to go make scandals on anyone else. I never did that before. But what the heck,
attention seekers. That's all
I don't know what it is. I mean, I don't know what.
Can't put your finger on it.
Well, it's not even that. It's like I'm not even interested. I'm busy moving.
You don't have the time to even. Yeah, I get you.
Yeah, I mean, if you got the time for scandals, okay, fine. That's your bag. To me, it's not about being right. It's about getting it right.
Yep.
It's a perpetual search for the truth. That's all.
Yep.
And so, I mean, for me, it doesn't bother me over the years. I have people, slander me and slime me, and I don't get down in the gutter with them because actually they grow my audience. They help me.
They do.
I mean, I'm
I
serious,
know.
you know, because it's like schoolyard politics.
Oh yeah.
You know, it's like, yeah, we want to go see who's getting a whooping, you know. And they come to my website, and all of a sudden they go, damn, this guy's got integrity. He's doing good stuff, you know. And sure enough, you know, the more they pound on me, the more, you know, it's like Nietzsche said, what don't kill you, make you stronger. And it really works for me. So, you know, I get all these emails from my loyal followers. Have you heard the newest scandal that she has? You know, and I said, I don't care. You know, it grieves them terribly. But, you know, I'm just going, Nancy, bring it on, baby. Bring it on. You're growing, man. You know?
Well, like, bad publicity is good publicity, too, you know.
Hey, that's
How's that go? Any
no
publicity is good publicity.
There is no bad publicity. You know?
Right, exactly.
I mean, when was the last time you remember Nancy being on Coast?
Oh.
Think about her.
Oh, there you go.
A long time.
Doesn't that put it in perspective? So, you know, but, heck. You know, you know, guys, you know, this doesn't feel like an interview. I feel like we're sitting here in the pub, and it's like one of us is going to pay for the next round.
That's how it always is on the show.
Yeah.
We don't do interviews. We just conversations.
We chill out, man. We're just chilling.
So a lot of people I think personally that Planet X is 4 times bigger than Earth. A lot of people claim that it's like 10 times or larger.
Well, it's actually a mini constellation. You have a brown dwarf at the center.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I thought Nibiru was tiny.
Then you have planets and moons around that. So, in my book, Being in It for the Species, we have Nemesis, the dark star, at the center of the system, and then you have going outwards from that, Helion, which is a gaseous planet, uninhabited, Arbota. And then Nibiru. Arbota is inhabited by slave species, and of course Nibiru is home world of those wonderful folks we knew as the Anunnaki.
Oh yeah, beautiful people.
Yes. Sure.
I just wish they would leave this planet for good.
You know, you guys, a good book to read is The Lost Book of Enki.
Yes, that's a great book.
Published. That's a fun book, you know. It's kind of like Game of Thrones with horny aliens and spaceships.
Yep.
I would definitely recommend that.
Slept with a lot of his family members.
Well, actually, if you read the book, literally, we came from the loins of Lord Enki of the Anunnaki.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, Earth girls are easy. At least that's what they figured. And sure seems to work that way. So, and Enki, I mean, if it moved, he nailed it. A guy had enough. Man, he had more sex drive than a Hollywood, you know, casting couch.
Yeah.
He was an amazing fellow, but it's a book well worth reading. It's a real wake-up call. You find out the Anunnaki actually invented the very first calendar for our planet, a lunar calendar, which is we have a solar calendar, which was bequeathed to us for political purposes by the Pope Gregory, and you know, and it's just. Our solar calendar, it's got white man's disease. You know, things just don't happen on when they should. And it's like, you know, when's the solstice? Got to look that one up. You know, leap years, we got to reach, you know, all that. Lunar calendar, baby, that's it. You know, it's like a Timex keeps on, you know, takes a lick and keeps on ticking. And, but he invented the first calendar, 12 cycles of the moon, comprising a year, 24-hour days, and however, just 2 seasons, summer and winter. Only goes to prove he comes from Phoenix, Arizona, and
right.
You know, in Phoenix, that's it. You got summer, you got winter, you know, and the difference blurs. the four seasons, I guess, had to come out of Europe, where they are four seasons. But today the Hebrew calendar is lunar. The Mayans had a lunar calendar. Islam uses a lunar calendar. If you look at how many different beliefs and systems, they go by lunar calendar, and that we found that to be really important because we have been working on the Avebury crop circle and going back, and we revisited that and doing some more decoding work on it. And what we really found was that when Sitchin said 3,600-year orbit for Nibiru, he was actually doing a literal translation of the Sumerian text, and the Sumerians and the Mayans and the Anunnaki all used lunar calendars. On a solar calendar, it actually is not 3,600 years, it's 3,548 and change. And so when you correct for that differential, all of a sudden, boom, dead on hit. Last flyby.
And didn't
was Exodus
1500 years, 1500 BC or something like that.
Yeah. So once you recalibrate for a solar calendar duration, boom, you're right on for Exodus. It actually is. We've had 4 previous flybys, and the last one was Exodus. Then there was a couple of good case scenarios. A best case scenario is when this thing comes through, it reaches its point of perihelion, closest distance to the sun, then it heads south back into the southern skies. That's the aphelion leg of its orbit. And when it crosses over Earth's orbit after going into aphelion, a best case scenario is we're on the other side of the sun. A worst case scenario is we're on the same side of the sun. Exodus was a best case scenario because we were on the opposite side of the sun. However, the deluge, Noah's flood, that was a worst case scenario where Earth was on the same side of the sun as the Nemesis systems. Planet X system was crossing well over the orbit of Earth. And so happens that's what's going to be this time. It's going to be the worst case scenario, and we're going to have a pole shift. And if you boys ever heard of something called the Georgia Guidestones?
Oh, of course.
Yeah. Talked about them quite a few times, yeah.
All right. By the way, one of you guys needs to order another pitcher of beer. And so we're running low here. But
very good.
You're chugging it, guys. Come on, slow down. But the last time that was, Noah's flood was actually a pole shift event. You say it's not where it rains for, according to Bill Cosby, it rained for 40 days and 40 nights, then the sewers backed up. But the truth of it is it's a sloshing effect. That's what really happens. The oceans come out of their basins because the Earth really stops in its spin, turns the other way, starts spinning the other direction, and that's what takes the oceans out of their basins. Now, in the book I publish, the Colburn Bible, the ancient Egyptians have a very detailed account of the last flyby, which was the plagues of Exodus. And I'm talking really, really detailed stuff. It's not this kind of, the princess shot the arrow into the sky, and the dragon fell and all that. No, I mean, you read the Colburn Bible, and it is man on the street stuff. Man on the street. It is that sharp, that clear, that focused. And what they tell us is that when we see this thing, it's going to cause so much fear that men are going to become impotent and women are going to become infertile. Now, when you take and put that in perspective, that when, it used to be at that time, unless you were an aristocrat, you didn't live beyond your 30s, all right? And when you stop to think about it, here's something we'll see in the sky that literally is going to scare the sex out of a teenager. And I'm not saying that to be funny. All right?
It's not going to scare the sex out of me.
It'll scare the sex out of everybody. And, I mean, you're going to go to the bunker going, I got a headache, honey. And so that's going to be the tough part of it. But this is it is going to have a profound effect, and for the people who are prepared for it, they'll get through it. But the Georgia Guidestones, and your listeners can look that up. Those were constructed by a secret society in Georgia.
Oh, the Rosicrucians, right?
Well, who knows? Nobody took. It's. I mean, it could have been anybody.
His initials on the Guidestone was something like RC.
Okay, RC. I mean, it could have been Southwest Airlines frequent flyer. I don't know.
Nice.
We don't. Nobody knows for sure. But I'll tell you one thing: it was produced by a secret society because it has precise celestial alignment. So it has the attributes of a monument that is the type of thing that these people would construct, and it has basically 10 commandments for the 21st century, and the first one is to keep humanity under 500 million in perpetual balance with nature. But here's the kick. Doesn't say how we get there. All right? And so what we're really looking at in terms of people dying, 1 in 7 will survive approximately. And that means death is going to touch everybody. Everybody. Everyone's going to lose someone, or they're going to die. It's going to be a tough time, and you're either prepared for it or you're not.
So,
Marshall,
Noah's flood, I was wondering, because I thought Enlil caused the flood.
No, Enlil, what Enlil did, and boy, I tell you, when they come back, if Enki's in charge of things, we're going to catch a break. If Enlil's in charge of things, we're in deep kimchi. And Enlil, and this is in the lost book of Enki, what Enlil did was he withheld information about the coming flood. And so that there would be the maximum dieback of the human species. And also Enlil saw to it that the first use of nuclear weapons on Earth, and created a radiological plague that was devastating and caused a huge loss of life. So Enlil not once but twice tried to exterminate our species. That's the reason why I say if he's in charge of things, when the Anunnaki return, it's tough darts farmer. Not going to be nice. And they are going to return.
I want them to just go away and leave the planet for good. Never come back.
Well, that would be nice.
Mm-hmm.
But truth is, they're coming for gold, and they're coming for women.
They can take the Bushes and the Clintons with them.
Marshall, I got a question for you. I combed your site a little bit. I didn't see it. What about the dinosaurs? Did Planet X have an effect on them?
Actually, my very first article that I wrote on Planet X raised that very question. Dr. Brian Marston of the Smithsonian Astrophysics Lab helped me write that article, or do the research, for that article. And we raised that very question. Could it have been a situation where in a previous flyby it triggered the Deacon Traps eruption in India, as well as an impact event? The thing of it is that when this star system comes around, it's like the carnival. Here comes the clowns first, then comes the pachyderms, and then behind them the guys with the the buckets and the shovels, and we're just going to have all kinds of stuff that's going to be hitting us, impacting us, causing all kinds of problems. You betcha.
Sure.
So.
Very probable then.
Oh yeah, no. I mean, in my book, we actually, the last major cataclysmic event of the tribulation will be transiting the tail. And that's when we fly through the vast dust tail of the Nemesis system, which is going to contain a lot of iron oxide, dust, and a lot of, we're going to have meteor showers, storms that are really going to be nasty. Kind of, it reminds me of that old movie Enemy Mine. Remember years ago with Lou Gossett Jr. And the Xerxes, the impact events, and it's really going to pound the dickens out of us, and that's going to be hard on folks because their strength and endurance is going to be mightily taxed by everything, and these meteorite showers are going to wipe out a lot of people, hopes and dreams, because they'll have a period of quiescence. This disaster is going to come in pulses. It's not going to be continuous, and there'll be a period of time, and see, that's the shame of it, is that the people who are going to suffer even that are never going to know what the hell's coming, because all of this is withheld. I mean, what the elites want is simply to reduce the human population as much as possible. They want the greatest possible
Do you think they really
back.
want that, though?
Huh?
Do you think they really want that?
Of course they do, Michael.
Because
I hear this. Oh, tell me it isn't so.
Well,
I mean, these
we're
people
worth money
are.
to them,
These people
We're not
are
worth
money cats. Okay. I
Michael,
mean, look. Here's
we're
the
not
thing.
worth money to them, okay? They already got all our money. Like I said the other night, when you drain someone of all their assets, they're no longer useful. They got all our money, dude. They have all the money in the world. They don't need it.
But when you have more workers, you can get even more money.
They don't need any more. They
don't
already
need
own all the
more
money.
workers.
They
Guys,
have
what they're going to do, fellas, is they're going to come up from their bunkers and they're going to tell the survivors, guess what? We've got seeds, Svalbard Doomsday Suit. Go to the Svalbard Doomsday Seed site. And, that's the one that was financed by folks like Monsanto, and the poster child is Bill Gates. Go see if on that website it says, we're doing this for the love of humanity and we will share these freely with everyone. Tell me where you find that on the website, okay? What they're going to do is, after everyone's had the snot beat out of them, they're going to come up and say, we've got food, medicine, construction materials, and seeds. If you want them, you consign yourself to slavery. And the fewer people that are left, the more their little stash of inducements is going to do for them. It's going to be more attractive the fewer people they have to share it with. Now, as far as it goes having more workers, oh, come on, guys. We're prodigious. We breathe like freaking rabbits. Give us a case of Ripple wine and a bottle of Viagra tablets, and we can work wonders.
Oh.
You know. So, you know, we're not human beings. They see themselves as the human beings or whatever they think they are.
Right.
We're what's called eaters. Okay?
Useless eaters.
We're eaters. And we are expendable.
You're right.
And we are a renewable resource. And for them, it is about restoring their control and enslavement of our species. And that is the reason why they want us to die like rats. Okay?
No, you're right.
Although,
I agree 100%. So listen, guys, we have to. We're running a little late. We have to take our 10:30 break here. But Marshall, would you like to stay on for a few and come back to this?
Sure.
Excellent. Let's
You guys
keep you
buying
on.
the next round? You buying the next round?
Yeah.
I'm gonna grab me a beer too.
But anyway,
Yes.
I guess kind of an inside joke there. Some people might get it.
Kind of.
I told Chris.
Anyway.
Yeah. Wow.
What's that, Mark?
I said it might bring some more listeners. You never know.
Yes.
Marshall Mathers, that's a pretty worldwide popular name, huh?
Yeah. Eminem's gonna talk about Planet X.
Yeah.
His next album,
Yes.
Planet X. All right. Anyway,
That'd be epic.
sorry.
So I figured I'd bring this up. I know Michael is right now is reading the 12th Planet, right, Michael?
Oh yeah, I am. Yep.
So are you
Pretty
just
interesting.
you just getting into his books, or is that your first?
Well, I read Gerald Clark's book, The Anunnaki of Nibiru, and I thought that was cool. So I checked out Zechariah Sitchin's work, and I got all of the Earth Chronicles.
Ooh, the Earth Chronicles are great. It's been about 10, 15 years since I've read them. I'd like to reread them, though, because, to be honest, I don't really remember a whole lot from the books, other than, you know, the stuff that we talk about on the show, but anyway, yes. So I'm sure...
Marshall was going over it earlier.
Yeah,
There's
I was
12
gonna say.
months in a year,
Yeah.
12 hours, twice a day, 12 celestial bodies. There's got to be a 12th planet. 12 gods of the Sumerians.
There's actually a lot more than 12. There's a few that they just don't care to identify as planets. So, Marshall, I have a question for you.
Fire away.
There was a few people claiming that when Planet X passes us, that it's going to wipe our memories clean. Do you know anything about that?
I haven't heard that one. It's new to me, but that's interesting.
Yeah, like the
What were we
electromagnetic.
talking about? What were we talking about?
What am I doing?
You know. God, I mean, I just stick with the science. I mean, there's more cockamamie theories than I can keep a track of. Honest to God, guys, there's just more cockamamie theories than I can believe. And you know, what are you gonna do?
That is good. I can just picture a whole bunch of, like, a world just full of, infants. Memories completely gone.
Yeah, that'd be crazy.
No idea what's going on.
Yeah, they were claiming, like, you have to wear a copper helmet or something.
Oh, my.
Well, you know, guys.
Where are you getting this stuff, Jeff? What?
You know, people have just all kinds of theories and ideas.
Oh,
all right. And to be honest, there's only one thing that really works. That's the Boy Scouts motto. And that's it. Be prepared. As far as it goes to the rest of it, excuse me, I've never been through a global cataclysm. Have you?
Right.
Not in this lifetime.
No. I mean, everybody has. We just published an article on the Mayan calendar and Planet X. And before December 21, 2012, I was asked, was there a correlation between the two? And I used to say, no, I don't see anything. It's coincidental. Because at that time, there was no evidence linking it. All we had was speculation, cable networks that were just sponging up money like crazy on it, all kinds of what-if hysterical stuff. So on one hand, it's going to smash into us and it's the end of us, melancholia, have a nice day. Right. On the other hand, we got the rupturites that are going to get raptured out. Then on the other hand, we've got the New Agers who are going, we're all going to wake up and sing Let's Buy the World a Coke. It was all over the map. And in the final analysis, it was a non-event. And yet, what we have discovered was that it wasn't a non-event. All right? But there was a direct correlation that the Mayans, in fact, were looking for Planet X.
Sure.
Because you have to look at the data, the empirical data that has been accumulated since December 21, 2012. Not before, but since. Because if you're looking for a harbinger event, a celestial alignment, that means, okay, after this, the guacamole hits the fan. Well, that's what happened. We looked at two empirical data sets. One is meteors and the other is earthquake. And right after December 21, 2012, the two of them just took off like skyrockets, straight up. Okay? So what they were looking for was, okay, is this going to be the end of it? Or, is this thing coming and is it going to, are we going to have a big boo-boo? All right? Well, there you go. Yeah. And the thing is, we can have all kinds of speculation. And people do it. I mean, to be honest, I call it mental masturbation. All right? Because it's a whole lot easier than having to face the reality that, maybe you do something constructive about planning and preparation. So if they're going, and what about this theory, and what about that theory, and what about this theory, and what about that theory, and what about this theory, and then I get the letters all the time from people. I call them the bullfrogs, because they're like big old bullfrogs. And they sit there and they go, when?
That's awesome.
Get a life. Better yet, get a plan. Okay?
Oh, okay.
And it might surprise people, but the Russians make more comfortable passenger jets than we do. And on the way back, it was always during the day. And first time, it was 2003, January, and I saw the Arctic and grew up in Arizona, and I mean, this was the first time I'd seen blue ice. When I saw it the first time, it was just beautiful, vast expanses of snow and rock outcroppings, blue ice. I was mesmerized for hours, and especially by the blue ice, because that's old ice, and the only time I ever saw blue ice when I was a kid in Phoenix was you went to 7-Eleven, put some in a cone, and they'd pour some blue syrup on it, and that was all I knew about blue ice. And I watched it steadily over the years. I quit my travel business in '98, and my last trip over the Arctic was in '98, and what I saw was a steady deterioration over the years. Always was flying over in December, back in January, because that's how I ran my business. And, I came...
Talk about Planet X. Maybe you got some new information that we could talk about, but I'm curious. What was it? You were working for CNN. Now, did you start getting into that stuff while you were working there?
No, that was back in the '80s when it was really a news. Now, I agree with Larry King. It's the Cartoon News Network.
Yeah.
It's a joke compared to what it was when I was there. When I was there, it was a lean, mean news machine, and it was an amazing time to be involved with that organization. But that was before there was all the consolidation, where just a handful of corporations own all the media.
Mm-hmm.
They've turned it all into this Orwellian propaganda machines, and so that was a time. It was really cool. I remember.
So it was really a time when they actually reported news then, and they actually went after stories.
Yeah, if you remember CNN in the old days, I mean, Turner was running it when I was there. It was something else. I would go in and meet with producers out on the newsroom floor. As you remember, they used to see all the reporters sitting at their desks because they were actually doing investigative reporting. Who'd have thought that? And man, to be honest with you, I didn't enjoy those visits because, I mean, the tension in that room, you could cut it with a knife. I used to walk out of there with chest pains. Jeez, that was tough. There was so much competition. Now they just read what's given to them. Yep. But, different days altogether. And, I moved to Texas and then got into the computer industry. And when you're in television, eventually you either get rich or you grow up and go somewhere else.
Yeah. That's a good point.
So, and, it got me here, but it was natural curiosity of things. I had a travel business going to Russia, and that was really what started me down the path, because in the 90s I was going from taking the polar route on Aeroflot to from San Francisco to Moscow on that last trip, and it just looked like the whole Arctic looked like the busted windshield of a wrecked car in the junkyard. And I said, man, they can call me a tree hugger. I got to figure this out. And that's what really started me on the path of trying to understand global warming, or what we call weather change, and that was something where we were looking to see if the man-made causes were the principal engine of it. We didn't see enough evidence of that. I mean, we put out a lot of carbon, but to be blunt, a couple of good volcano farts will do as much. And, we started looking at the sun, and solar radiance was increasing, has been since 1940. And then we were wondering, okay, well, if this is a solar-driven thing, that would be consistent that the atmospheres of the other bodies in our system would be perturbed like ours. Well, that's exactly what we found. All right. So every planet with an atmosphere is showing atmospheric perturbations, weirdness. Matter of fact, Mars had a period of warming so intense that if something like that were to happen here on Earth, we would become extinct as a species.
Right.
So this is pretty serious, and that then led us, I was doing this work with a couple other folks who are like myself, Mensons, and Mens is a society for people who have genius IQs and are socially challenged. And we were really looking at, all right, it's solar radiance. Is this something that is a normal solar cycle, or is there something else? And sunspot activity, these kind of records go back 300 years. We weren't seeing anything in that period of time that was consistent with it. No ancient folklore or historical reports. So at that point, we started looking at the possibility of the sun interacting with another body in our system that we're not aware of, an interloper, if you will. And that was our path to Planet X, which is actually a mini constellation. It's we are in a binary system. Now, for those that can remember back to the 70s and the 80s, there was actually a whole lot of very intelligent conversation about it by professional astronomers.